Well, hello and TGIF. It is indeed Friday, May 22nd, 2020. Memorial Day weekend, actually, in case you lost track of time. And if you did, really, it's okay. I get it, trust me. In any case, I'm Philip Palermo, and this is Cord Cutting Today, where we take a look at the week that was in cord cutting and streaming news. And it's been quite a week indeed. So today we're going to talk about potential Prime Day delays, Netflix canceling unused accounts, Hulu revamping its menus, HBO Max prepping for its big launch next week, and more. But first, yes, if you'd like to support our channel, one of the very best ways of doing that is by clicking the like and subscribe buttons located somewhere around here. It really depends on how you're watching us, but we appreciate all of our subscribers, and we're always working to bring more content to the channel. Meanwhile, if you haven't heard, we also have a news website, cordcuttersnews.com. In fact, all the stories we're going to talk about today will be linked to that site in the video description down below, so you can head to our site to learn even more. And with that being said, we can move right along to the news. And we start off with some rumors, actually. Word on the virtual street is that Amazon is considering postponing its annual Prime Day event even further than earlier estimates. Now, we reported a while back that the company could be moving its huge sales event from July into August, but these latest reports suggest September could be the new target. And as you might imagine, the reasoning behind this potential move stems from the ongoing coronavirus pandemic and the challenges involved in keeping orders and shipping running smoothly while, also keeping your employees safe and healthy. And that just gets harder when you're generating a huge amount of sales over a 1 or 2 day span. Of course, even without the increased demand of a Prime Day event, it's clear that Amazon's been challenged during the pandemic, including delivery delays on non-essential items, so moving the event further into the year really isn't all that surprising. For now, though, Amazon hasn't offered an official comment on this year's Prime Day or potential delays, but as soon as they do, we'll let you know. And you can find out more about this story in Jess's post, linked down below in the video description. Next up, are you still watching Netflix? No, really, they'd like to know. The company announced this week it'll start reaching out to inactive subscribers and potentially canceling accounts that haven't been used in a while. As for the details, the company is saying if a customer is currently paying for the service but hasn't watched anything for the past 12 months, Netflix will contact them to see what's up, and if they don't hear back, the account will be canceled. Members should start seeing messages via email or through app notifications starting this week. And even if your subscription is canceled through this effort, you'll still have about 10 months to rejoin with all of your profiles and favorites and preferences intact. And by the way, if you're curious, Netflix says these types of inactive accounts make up less than 0.5% of the company's user base, or a few 100,000 in all. The company is pitching this as a win for customers, saying in a blog post, the last thing we want is people paying for something they're not using. And indeed, this could certainly come in handy for folks who may have lost track of what services they're currently paying for. And it brings to mind a question. How many of you out there have been paying for services or memberships that you simply forgot all about? In my case, I briefly forgot about an Xbox Live Gold subscription I hadn't used for a while, but I can't be the only one out there, right? Please make me feel better in the comments down below. Thanks. And now, from people that aren't using Netflix, we're moving on to people that are using Hulu. This week, the service is rolling out a new user interface for TV OS devices, also known as Apple TVs. Some of the big changes include navigating through collections vertically while moving within a collection horizontally. The new layout is aimed at mimicking how Disney Plus and ESPN Plus behave, which sort of makes sense since all three are offered as a bundled package. Elsewhere, tile sizes are changing, so highlighted content shows up larger and becomes a bit harder to ignore, while other tiles, like the Keep Watching tile, will get smaller to make room for other options on screen. As for other platforms, Hulu says stay tuned. Apple TV users get the new look first, and other devices should be getting support in the coming months. For now, if you're an Apple TV user and you've given the new user interface a spin, feel free to let us know what you think in the comment section down below. Meanwhile, I don't know if you've heard, but we've got another streaming service about to launch soon. This time it's HBO Max, and AT&T's Warner Media has been wheeling and dealing in the days leading up to the May 27th launch. First up, we've got a number of deals with companies like Cox Communication and Verizon, where existing HBO subscribers will get full access to the new service. On the device front, we've got certain Samsung Smart TVs from 2016 onward, which will support the new app, as will game consoles like the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. As for next-gen versions of the Xbox and PlayStation lines, well, that's still TBD, as is support for other platforms like Roku and Amazon's Fire TV. Now, as of the filming of this episode, a Roku deal has not yet been announced, but there's still time to make that launch next week, of course. In the meantime, Jess has further details in her full post, linked down below in the video description. On a potentially related front, we also reported on the reappearance of the AT&T TV app on Roku's devices. If you'll recall, the app was removed from Roku's platform back in January as the two sides tried to hash out a new agreement. Well, this week the app is back and available in the Roku channel store once again. Now, the timing here is certainly curious, since the companies have been actively working on a deal to get HBO Max on the platform in time for the launch next week. But again, at the time we're recording, no deal so far. That said, if things change, check out the video description down below, as well as the comment section, where we'll update with news as soon as we hear it. This is probably a good time to plug our news website, cordcuttersnews.com. For now, though, stay tuned. As for the content HBO Max is hoping to offer, the service snagged a bit of an odd exclusive this week when director Zack Snyder announced a new edit of the film Justice League will be hitting the service at some point next year. Now, if you haven't been following this saga, production on 2017's Justice League faced some considerable challenges, including a family tragedy that led to Snyder leaving the film and the Avengers director Joss Whedon taking over. And over the years, some, let's say, vocal fans have been clamoring for what's been called the Snyder Cut, a chance to see how the film would have turned out had Snyder been able to see the production through. And it looks like we won't have too much longer to wait to see this new version, although an exact date in 2021 has not yet been announced. And for the Justice League fans out there, are you excited about the news? Nervous? If you had final say on what's changed or tweaked in a new edit of the film, what would you change? Feel free to comment down below, but please keep it civil, I beg of you. With that, we move to the FCC, which has reportedly received several hundred complaints related to its Keep Americans Connected pledge. To recap, the pledge was first announced back in March and called on broadband providers and telcos to agree to a series of conditions to help ease financial stress on consumers during the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. And those stipulations included things like not canceling service for residents or small businesses who were unable to pay due to pandemic-related financial hardships. Also waiving fees and other charges due to economic situations brought on by the pandemic. To date, more than 750 companies have signed on, and the pledge has since been extended out to June 30th. And so, in a statement to the House Energy and Commerce Committee this week, the FCC said it's received around 2,000 pandemic-related complaints, and about 500 of those were directly related to the pledge and the companies that have signed on. The FCC says it forwards those complaints to the appropriate provider, and they then have 30 days to respond. Elsewhere, the FCC is aiming to take a closer look at a plan to use the new ATSC 3.0 broadcasting standard as a means to provide internet. It's being called, well, broadcast internet, and the idea here is that a broadcaster or a group of broadcasters could team up to use TV spectrum to provide internet service, potentially up to 25 megabits per second. Of course, these are very preliminary plans, and the discussion this week centered on potential rule changes to make such an effort easier, and we'll likely learn more as we approach the FCC's June open meeting on Tuesday, June 9th. So yes, early times indeed, and a lot of questions to figure out, like how exactly will two-way communication work in this setup, and could such a method be as reliable at least as cable, fiber, and other means? We're working on some deeper dives into the subject, but if you haven't heard of ATSC 3.0 before now, well, we just published a handy video that covers some of the highlights to get you caught up. Shameless plug, oh yes. And that brings us to the end of another week here at Cord Cutting Today. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and supporting the channel. And hey, if you're new around here and want to help out, please do consider clicking that like and subscribe button down below. That is a fantastic way to support what we're doing here, and we appreciate it a ton. And don't forget, we also have a news website, cordcuttersnews.com. Also, as a reminder, some of us have a holiday weekend coming up, and I know this year's a bit different than years past, a lot different really, but I hope you all still are able to have an enjoyable and safe weekend. My name is Philip Palermo. Thanks for watching. Take care.